We're heading into the final week of September. Welcome into Bleacher Talk. I'm Jordan Spurgeon alongside Claudia Collins, and we're getting through the month of September, but the high school football scene has just been crazy so far. We've already seen potentially some of the biggest games of the year, maybe the biggest plays of the year. And there's just so much going on. Today, of course, we'll have quick picks in a few minutes. We're going to go out to Skyline High School. They're off to a 4-0 start with a brand new head coach. So we're going to catch up with them at their brand new field. That seems to be a theme for us here with so many schools getting brand new facilities this year. And then, of course, Eliab Gavai will join us for Social Spotlight. But it's just been a lot of fun, Claudia. I know it's been tough keeping up with everything. There's so much going on.
There is so much going on, and then you throw in a new head coach at ASU and recruiting in Arizona and the sun situation. There's lots of stuff happening around the valley. I swear it never sleeps. And also today, joining us in this never sleeping movement of the grind, we've got Bruce Cooper with us to start off our quick picks. We always love having you on, Bruce. How have you been handling all the news circulating in the sports world here in Arizona?
It's been a lot, but I tell you what, my jaw dropped open when I learned that DeAndre Ayton and Coach Monty Williams haven't spoken since Game 7 of last year's semifinal series against the Mavericks. It's like, oh my goodness! I hope there's nothing big and deep there. But hey, look, when you talk about high school sports here, football in particular, oh my gosh, what a game last week! What a game last week. Chandler and Saguaro. I mean, look, I saw all the coverage, all the Cardinal stars coming out. I thought that was just sensational. Great.
Yeah, the star power that comes out for those games are just insane. I ran into Destroy. He's a YouTuber that's got a couple million followers, and he goes out to high school football games across the country. He'll go to the biggest games. And I asked him, like, do you ever see this many NFL players or like superstars on the sidelines? And he was like, no. And this is a guy who makes it his mission to go to the best high school football game in the country. So I think that just tells you something about the caliber of high school football that we have here in Arizona.
And
But
with that too,
Bruce,
the kids were like they were hounding him more than they were Kyler Murray or anybody else. I heard his name way more than I heard any of the Cardinals player. He's a big deal.
yeah, he's definitely got some star power himself, that's for sure. But Bruce, you are our shining star on quick picks right now because you've still got the lead.
Oh,
9-3, Spurge is 7-5, and I am 5-7. So we've definitely had an interesting start here. But Bruce, you have not held back even the slightest bit. So we're gonna go into our first pick, and I'm gonna let you lead it off with Williams Field at Centennial.
Williamsville at Centennial. Wow. Let me tell you something. Richard Taylor, I mean, you can never count out his Coyotes. I mean, year in and year out, they are a solid group. Um, but I'm seeing a little bit of change in power on the west side. I'm seeing Liberty really kind of still a little bit of that thunder. And so I don't see necessarily the same type of athletes that built that big star power that I'm used to seeing over at Centennial, but I am seeing a little bit more of that at Williamsfield. Williamsfield, to me, they have the better talent overall, the skill people, and that includes even losing a guy like Casper to Oregon a year earlier than you thought you were going to lose it. And so uh, I see Williamsfield coming off two tough losses back to back. Castile, and then, of course, last week in overtime to Desert Ridge 34-33. But I still like the caliber of elite athletes on that side of the field that they have. And because of that, give me Steve Campbell and the Williamsfield Blackhawks. Give me 28 Williamsfield, 21 Centennial.
All right, fairly close. Spurge, what do you think?
I agree a lot with what you said, Coop. I do want to say Centennial's having a bounce back year. They lost their season opener against Hamilton. That's to be expected. Hamilton's just in that upper echelon of schools right now. Since then, Centennial has outscored opponents 111-28. And they're not just playing like really bad teams. They're playing teams that are competitive within 6A. And I do think that they've got a different edge about them. I know Richard Taylor is one of the best coaches out here in all of Arizona high school over the last few decades. He's not had very many losing seasons. Last year, 3-8, I think left a sour taste in his mouth. And I think all the returners don't want to experience anything like that again. Sitting at 3-1 right now, I do give them the slight edge. I think defensively, they're going to get after the quarterback. They have about 12 sacks as a defense this year. They've forced 4 interceptions as well. So they get after the quarterback. They force turnovers. I do think Centennial is going to win this one. It's going to be pretty low scoring because of the defenses on both sides. And I do think Centennial is going to win 24-20.
Spurge, I'm gonna have to agree with you, especially because we had the same outscoring stat on our notes. It sounds like I'm scared though to disagree with Bruce because he has just absolutely taken the steadiest lead. But I do think that Centennial's defense is a force to be reckoned with, and we always hear and always say, and coaches always say, defense wins games. And I think that is what has happened for Centennial so far this season. A couple players had a couple interceptions in the last game. Previous game kind of turned out the same way. So I'm just seeing the potential for Centennial. And I think that they're hungry to turn around this season after a losing season last year. So I am similarly to Spurge going to go low scoring, but Centennial takes this one 21-19. We'll make it very close. But our next matchup is Horizon at Pinnacle. And Spurge, you are the biggest fan of the Horizon football fan section. So yep. I'm just going to let you lead this one off just because we love the fans over there.
Well, yeah, this is one of the better rivalries over in that Scottsdale area. I think it officially became that last year when Horizon was finally able to beat Pinnacle, and the dog pound is going to follow them to Pinnacle, and it's going to be a battle of the student sections for sure on Friday night. Horizon just hasn't looked the same this year. They're going with a 2-quarterback system defensively. They're giving up more points than they did last year. I really like what Cole Linyard and Matthew Kloppenstein bring to the table, 2 of the biggest recruits in the state, especially Kloppenstein as a tight end, and Cole Linyard, one of the more underrated recruits who's going to play at the next level. I like what they bring to the table, but Pinnacle right now, you can scratch what happened against Liberty. That's just one of those outliers where Liberty is on a mission to be an open division championship team this year. You had the rain delay and you had to go back to the west side again and you get blown out, and it was a tough game. But their sophomore quarterback, Wyatt Horton, is really coming into his own, one of the better quarterbacks in the state of Arizona right now, not just in his class, but in everybody that's on the field right now. He has a 125 passer rating, and I know he's got some great targets to throw to with Miles Libman and Deuce Robinson. So I think it's a close matchup. I'm going to give the slight edge to Pinnacle at this point. I'm going to say it's going to be 29-24 Pinnacle over Horizon.
It sounds like I'm going to mostly be in agreement with Spurge today. Also similar notes, especially on the recruiting side. I mean, when you look at both teams, there's a lot of good recruits coming out of both. But when we look at Pinnacle and Deuce Robinson, it's the star power on that team. If we want to talk about star-powered sidelines, we can just look at Pinnacle and their own roster. But I also want to point out a previous interview that I did with Blair Angulo a couple months ago, kind of just navigating the landscape of Arizona high school football. And Pinnacle was a team that he suspects will have one of the best defenses in Arizona. Maybe not so much this year as next year with a lot of young talent on the team. But if we're going back to that defense side, I'm going to have to say I also see Pinnacle winning this game, slight edge, and they're hungry to get back that win too. So I'm going to go, let's go 28-21. All right, Bruce, what do you think?
Look, I agree with both of you in terms of who will win Pinnacle, but I totally disagree that it will be a close game. Pinnacle will win this by 3 or more touchdowns. I think they are that much in terms of heads and shoulders above Horizon in terms of overall talent on the field. And look, Andy Litton lost a lot last year. I mean, he had a stud quarterback. I know like Jordan said, they're trying to go to 2-quarterback system this year. So just not enough. Just too much star power, as you said, Claudia, on that side of the field. So give me Horizon 45. Give me Pinnacle 45, Horizon 13.
All right, the last game that we have to choose from is the Tukey Bowl, Desert Vista at Mountain Point. To be honest, that's basically in my backyard because I live in Ahwatukee. So we could say that this game hits close to home, mostly because I could probably hit Mountain Point's football field with baseball from where I'm sitting at the moment. So not that close, but pretty close to home. But I'm going to go ahead and make my pick first here. I think this matchup is interesting every year, not just because it's a rivalry and location based, but over the last few years, I feel like both of these teams have overcome a lot, and they've overcome losing seasons, had winning seasons last year. I do think that Desert Vista, unfortunately, has dealt with a little bit too much change in the last few years, having had 3 coaches in the last 4 years. I mean, these seniors have seen so much change. And I do think there's something to, yes, you can learn a lot from having multiple coaches, but like that lack of consistency, I think is kind of reflecting a little bit in their record so far this season. I also think when we look at, if we're going to keep using star power in this episode, I think Mountain Point just has a little bit more, especially with Chris Arvizo. Not to mention he's just got swag as it is. So I think he's got that natural built-in star power. But, Desert Vista won the Tukey Bowl last year. Braxton Thomas was kind of the guy to make that happen. He's still around this year. I just think that change is going to be the biggest difference. And I also did reach out to Zach Elvira. I didn't ask him who he would pick because I knew he wasn't going to tell me who he would pick. But Zach Elvira kind of covers the Ahwatukee schools more than anybody I know. And he wanted to point out that Desert Vista has a lot of new guys, but still enough talent to get the job done. Michael Allison is one of the best athletes on the field, but he's dealt with a lot of injuries over the last 2 seasons and is finding a way to fit in with the new offense. But on the other hand, he named so many players over at Mountain Point, especially at the wide receiver position, that they just have like an endless roster of talent when it comes to this game. So I think my pick is going to be Mountain Point, and I do think it's going to be by quite a bit. Maybe not like I don't remember what your last score was, Bruce, but I'm going to go 30-20, make it even. What do you think, Bruce?
Well, look, I think DV's won the last 2 matchups, including a thrilling overtime affair last year. Look, it seems like everyone in Ahwatukee has a rooting interest. I mean, like if they didn't even go to the school, they have a rooting interest. They picked a side. I mean, neighbors against neighbors. It's kind of crazy how that rivalry has kind of galvanized that community. Everyone stops to take note. And Mountain Point, I agree with you. I like what Eric Lauer has done there. They do have a nice collection of talent. I know that Nate Gill finally got his first win last week against Verrado, but I just don't think they have enough in the chamber, if you will. And so, with that said, I like Mountain Point by 17 here, 34-17, Mountain Point.
All right, Spur, do you want to be a little different and go Desert Vista? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have too much of a shakeup in the standings this week. I have to agree with most of the things all of you said. I do think Desert Vista is going to play even better this week because, one, they finally got the first win for head coach Nate Gill off their back. I know sometimes that first one, when you lose your first game and then your second game, it kind of becomes a snowball effect and it's difficult to get it. So they finally got that. So I think that's freeing for them, knowing, okay, we're with our third coach if you're a senior on that team, but we got to win with him too. Let's ride. And because it is a rivalry game, you can't necessarily count them out. But Mountain Point is just loaded with talent, as you've all said. Chris Arvizo, again, one of the top quarterbacks in the state, over 1,100 yards or 11 touchdowns, 892 passing yards this year. He is a stud defensively. I think they've got some guys, especially on the edges, that can get after the quarterback. And so I do think Mountain Point's going to win this game in the ballpark of 32-24.
Since we were talking about Chris Arvizo a lot too, I should also add that the last game he passed the Mountain Point Pride's record for a single game passing yards. So like there is something to be said about us all bringing up that name. So I think that's there, but yeah.
Claudia, single game or career?
Single game.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. Yep. So hey, it's interesting to see. We got those little tidbits. I got that one from Zach as well. So gotta give Zach Elvira a shout out. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we land after this week. Only one game that there was a little disagreement over. So probably not too much of a shakeup, like Spurge said, but we're gonna go shake things up over at Skyline High School. So stick with us when we get back. Hey everyone, welcome back to Bleacher Talk. I'm Claudia Collins alongside Jordan Spurgeon, and we're at Skyline High School getting to see their new field, which looks absolutely incredible. What has it been like getting to practice with new facilities? Is that kind of like giving you guys an extra spark this season?
Yeah, definitely. The new field, new lockers, everything. It feels good because, in the past, Skyline has a history for not being as good. So, back then, we used to look at schools like Chandler, Red Mountain turf with the turf fields, and it feels good that we have it, and that we're actually putting up numbers.
Well, Coach, you couldn't really ask for a better start here at Skyline, coming in 4-0. Now you get Dobson this week. It's a big rivalry game. How are you feeling about this program and just how things have been going after this offseason taking over and now seeing some of the results on the field?
Well, I think, looking at this coming in and the schedule, moving down to 5A, knowing that we're going to be able to have a chance to compete, I think it's put us in a good position, kind of where I thought, essentially we should be and where we wanted to be. I think Dobson, they're 0-4, but I think they're our toughest opponent that we face yet. So it's going to be a dogfight every week. I feel like it's going to be a dogfight, and I feel like the discipline between the boys and kind of what we're starting to instill in them is starting to show, and we're starting to see the dividends on the football field.
It's your senior year, and you get a brand new head coach this year, and it's a completely different mentality. I remember we talked at Mesa Media Day, and it's very discipline-oriented. Watching practice today, it's very, very structured. Are you seeing just the differences from where it was before here at Skyline to what you're seeing this year?
Oh, yeah, big difference. At first, I was pretty iffy, but then when we got through the season, like right now, I love this man. This man's like our father figure, so it's really good, especially with the discipline part. He's really tough on us on that. So it's like, if you're messing around, he hates it. He hates whenever people are talking on the sideline. So it's like, love it.
For the boys to see that, maybe coach's way might be a better way, and for them to be able to maybe go out on a limb and say, well, let's try this because it didn't work in the past, so let's try this way instead. And I think that's kind of the mentality they've had with it, so it's worked.
Who were some of the guys early on that you knew were all in and embraced on and have been helping lead some of the players within themselves?
Well, early on when I got here, I knew Jace Harden was. I knew Aikman Claridge was. Some of these seniors that I just felt an instant connection and leadership role, and almost like a dad figure to them, and know that I could lean on them to maybe if there was still some hesitancy with the buy-in, that I could lean on them to say, hey, coach says to do this, let's go do that, and that's kind of what I've leaned on them with. So it's worked out.
As a junior, what would you say about the senior class and the way they lead your team?
They lead it very well, very well. They're very hard on us, disciplined. They're like our coaches, and I definitely try to pinpoint, each of their best qualities. So for when I'm a senior and hopefully I become a captain and, I can lead my team. So definitely I love my seniors.
What's the vibes like around campus with this football team? Or is the student section or the students that your fellow students, are they paying a little more attention to football this year? Like, what's it been like?
Oh, it's definitely different because this year, our first game, our student section was packed for once. So I was like, it's nice to see. And then like our past home games, pretty packed. So now we're getting recognition from our teachers, the staff, the custodial staff, everyone. Everyone's just coming out to support now, so it's nice to see.
And part of that is the way you guys carry yourselves. I heard one of the big switches when I had talked before at Media Day was that you guys all sit front of the class, game days, nice clothes. Do you think that plays a role in just how everybody views this football team this year on campus?
Oh yeah, definitely, because it shows us we're respecting our teachers. We want to get up there and be engaged in the learning instead of sitting in the back and just messing around, playing on phones, horsing around. So it's definitely different.
But I also know that you have your players dress up for game day, and it's not the usual like wear your jersey to class. It's a shirt, tie, khakis. What's the reasoning behind kind of going that route?
Well, I think we want to all be a team, and I think it's a classy look. They all have the same custom Skyline football tie, and then Fridays coaches dress up. Usually it's a dress down day, but during the football season, it's business attire. So we're going to our job. We're going to take care of business, and I think that's kind of the reasoning behind it. That it's a job and it's a business, and we're going to take care of our business.
Does your practice look always include this big oversized hat that you can see from a mile away?
Yeah, it does. It does, and that was like what I picked up 20 years ago when I started coaching, and I've actually had two hats, and this is I bought two of the same kind, and I had to break this one out 8 years ago because the other one ripped, and so this one's 8 years old, and but yeah, I hope it doesn't go away.
With that, we like to always ask fun questions at Sports 360 AZ. So you guys got to dress up for game days. Do you kind of like bring in a little swag when you dress up? Are we wearing special ties? Like, what's the go-to fit?
Honestly, I'm not going to lie. I wear mine with Crocs because it's comfortable. And, I don't want to wear like a shoe that's going to hurt my feet all day. So I'd rather just be comfortable.
I got two. What's the go-to game day meal for you guys?
Oh, go-to game meal? Oh, sheesh. Anything the parents feed us.
Felt that?
Yeah. Anything the parents feed us, I'll always eat because it's prepared by them, so can't waste it. Respect to the moms and dads that prepare it.
When big plays happen, who do you think's the guy that has the best celebration?
I'm usually in, and I don't really see anyone celebrate. I see our running back just go up and just high five, jump up. That's it. I don't watch the sideline because I just go downfield immediately because we got PAT.
So like on film, I like to watch the reactions of the people. So I'll watch people on the field react, and then sideline. And man, coach is about to run out with us. Sometimes we'll be on the opposite side, and he wants to run out there. I could tell. And I think he has the best sideline reaction for sure. He jumps, throws everything.
So, and I had to own up to doing a gritty, I think they call that. And the next thing they want me to do the worm, and I'm sure they're going to have me crowd surf sooner or later, but if they ask me to do it, I'll probably do it. So as long as the situation's right.
You reluctantly really like that, though.
Yeah, I don't know. As long as it's not on social media, maybe.
1, 2, 3, Coyotes! Welcome back to Bleacher Talk. I'm Jordan Spurgeon alongside Claudia Collins and, of course, Eliaf Gabai here for Social Spotlight. We're still here at Skyline High School. Yep. Great interviews over there. But now we're going to hear everything that's happening in the world of Twitter.
That's right.
Social media, right, Eliaf?
Absolutely. And you know, and we know that we always have a great time here for Social Spotlight. And y'all always have a great time at those games. I think we all noticed that last week. I was at Hamilton versus Horizon and Basha versus Mountain View. Homecoming crowds, all right, team, and y'all showed out. Push-ups. There was a blackout at Basha as well with the shirts. It was very impressive, and I know y'all too saw something very similar, maybe even more, in Chandler versus Saguaro, and some special guests on the sidelines too.
Yes, I want to get into that, but I need to ask real quick first, did you get in on the push-ups?
I did not get in on the push-ups.
Tough.
That's where this guy's at.
Yeah. Spurge has a history of doing that. You guys might need to have a push-up contest. But yeah, at the sidelines, at the Chandler game, it was, star-studded sideline, kind of reminded me of Battle for Arizona Avenue. Tons of NFL players from the Cardinals. No Cody Bellinger, obviously, because we were not at Hamilton, which is kind of what we experienced last year. Destroy was there, who's a popular YouTuber. Sean Aguano made appearances earlier that day.
Right.
Khalil Valentine was offered. I mean, it was like nonstop. There was the game on the field, and then there was everything happening on the sideline. So we really needed 2 of us at that game.
There was no walking room on the sidelines, especially like right when
No.
the game kicked off. You could see, we already knew that Kyler Murray and some of the Cardinals players were in the parking lot with a reserve spot. You could see them, and the kids would kind of gather and then go away and then gather. And then as soon as kickoff happened, they tried to come in and get on the
Sneak
sidelines.
in.
And of course, they were ambushed immediately.
There
but
was
it
no
a lot of
sneaking
fun.
around.
There was no.
Yeah.
I will say though, Destroy got more love than Kyler or anybody.
Yeah.
That kid,
Really?
that guy,
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of him before, but he's got millions of subscribers on YouTube, and like
I'm one
it
of
was
them.
every little kid, destroy, like all day. Kyler got a little bit of that. I think at one point Eno and Buda Baker were just kind of chilling, like no one talking to them. They were just like chilling and vibing and enjoying some football.
You know what the difference is? Those kids knew they were going to end up on the YouTube video.
Yeah.
So they were like, here's my chance for fame. So I
Yep.
think it came down to that. But yes, definitely a very fun night on Friday night across the board.
Yeah, you do what you can. You do what you can to get on the YouTube channels. I don't blame them. But also, just like that was a special moment for a lot of kids, very, very special moment at Queen Creek versus ALA Queen Creek, and it's beyond football. Cade Liberta, son of the late Andy Liberta, who ran County Line Preps, he loved nothing more than his wife Kelly and his son Cade was given a Queen Creek jersey and ALA Queen Creek helmet signed by both teams at the first ever Andy Liberta Classic. The Patriots had a comeback bid in the second half, but the Bulldogs won by 10, and obviously what a way to honor him, and Cade said it was the utmost respect, and I absolutely agree. It's just such a sweet moment.
Yeah, we love to see stuff like that happen, and anytime that you can dedicate the game to something more than just a win, I think that's a win for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, something that we didn't get the pleasure to get to know him, but everyone that's talked about him since I've been here has had nothing but respect to say for him and his family, and I'm very glad that they were able to get some honoring at that game.
And from what I understood, he would have also loved the game that actually went down competition-wise, so we always love that as well. But another great moment that happened actually at the ASU game this past weekend. Shout out to Dylan Lee of Williams Field, the running back, linebacker, was offered by Sean Aguano that night. I kid you not, all right? I was walking by, just saw some smiling faces. You know, I like smiles, so I took pictures. Why not, right? All of a sudden, I start seeing tears. I'm just like, what is going on? Minutes later, I see after a big hug from Sean Aguano and a little chat with Lee and his brothers that he was offered by Aguano to go to ASU, and you just gotta love that. What a moment. Tears in his brother's eyes, tears in his eyes, all the emotion. There's nothing better than that.
You had timestamps too.
We had
to
timestamps.
show
Yeah.
Minutes.
that you broke the news without knowing you broke the news. Is that right?
Well, you know, I just said Sean Aguano was looking very happy. I didn't want to be the one, just in case. But I'm happy Dylan was able to officially say it, you know.
Yeah, big day. I mean, the debut for Sean Aguano as ASU's head coach, and he offers one of the top running backs in Arizona who's coming off a 500-plus yard performance. So really cool to see that. But Eliav, thank you so much for joining us. Social Spotlight, excellent as always. Hope you're energized. And thank you all for tuning in to Bleacher Talk. We'll catch you next week.